Hi guys, this is Carlin Laborio with Teaching RLA with Carlin Laborio, and I wanted to share a video with you. This video is called ECRs and Intervention. A lot of people are asking me questions about how do you teach ECRs when you have kids that are in intervention, they are on a lower reading level, they can barely write. How can you start and what do you do to teach ECRs to those kiddos and what is the best plan of action? So if that's what you're wondering, this video is for you. So my first advice is to start off with SCRs. And then my other important information is to know, document, train, and give students time to practice accommodations. So we cannot just expect them to know how to use a microphone or to know how to use spelling assistants. This has to be taught one-on-one. And because they are often SpEd, most of the time, you really cannot expect them to pick it up the first time. So it needs to be practiced all year long. And sometimes it needs to be retaught several times before they will consistently use the tool. Every single time we take a test, I'm still reminding them, turn on, click on the ear, make sure you can hear the voice reading you the questions. If I don't go around and say that, some of them will forget and they will not even use the accommodation. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you are in the know. Talk to the people in your district. Find out what accommodations are allowed for each group of students. For example, RTI, they have certain accommodations, 504, SpEd, and ESL. With these kiddos, you need to do a lot of modeling, a lot of scaffolding. Group work is really going to help these kids if they can use their speaking and listening skills in a group with higher kids. I found that that pushes them further than if they're just at my teacher table. But teacher table is also important. Conferencing one-on-one is the thing that I have seen the most growth with my students, just basically doing a combination of all of the things. And just a quick word, and I have made other videos about accommodations that go more into detail. I have a video that actually shows you what content language supports looks like and who that's for. And I think I've made a video on spelling assistance as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely check out those other videos on my channel. And I'll link the I'll put all the links in the more information in the video. So spelling assistance, well, let's start with the bottom. Let's start with text to speech. Text to speech, and I know we always get these confused between speech to text and text to speech. So I put in parentheses, text to speech, think of it like the text is coming off of the page and it's turning into the speech. So that would be oral admin. And that is really the only one that is for RTI. Now, always check with your testing coordinator. Don't take my word for it. But as far as I know, that is the one that the RTI committee can decide if they are showing a reading difficulty and that reading the questions helps that student, they can get the questions read to them, only the questions. 504 and SpEd have a lot more accommodations that they can have. And ESL also has these accommodations. The thing to note about ESL students is that if there is a chance that they could exit ESL, exit the program, if they are super high and they're about to exit, you do not want to be giving them any of these accommodations because if you do, they will not exit. However, if there's no chance that they're going to exit the program and they are on a really low level where you have documented and shown and decided with the committee that content language supports help that student or oral admin or things like that, then they can get that as well. In fact, we are trying to get content language supports for a lot of our kiddos. It is amazing. And a lot of people don't know much about that because it's fairly, I mean, it's new to us if you've been taking paper tests. The online version is where it becomes really crucial for the student. It has photos, it has simplified vocabulary, it reads the revising questions with the transition word in the blank. I mean, it summarizes some of the passages. So if they can't read the passage, they can at least listen to the summary and get the gist of the article. So my tip is to, if a student is really, really low level, get them content language sports. Now, that is not something, as far as I'm aware, that can be for RTI, but for sure SpEd, 504, and ESL. And then it gets a little tighter with the speech to text is where they use the microphone. And that is really for severe cases where they don't even have an awareness of the letter matching the sound. So if you have any students like that, and I have, one or two each year, it seems like that are severe SpEd and need that microphone. And so if that is the case, you have to kind of teach them to talk into the microphone like a robot. And I have a video on that. 504, I think, can also get that, but not ESL. We just looked that up the other day. So spelling assistance is also only for 504 and SpEd. I do not believe that one is allowed for ESL, only SpEd and 504. So 504, now dyslexia is under SpEd, but it used to be under 504. So anyway, those are the different accommodations that you definitely want to train your students on and get that documented in their paperwork way before STAR. Here's the link, and I'll post this in the notes for the video, so you can click on this and it'll take you directly to TEA's website where they list all the accommodations and what's required. Okay, so if you have kiddos that really are struggling with the ECR, first, we spent like a month just learning how to write a complete sentence with a subject and a verb. There's a book, I can't remember the name of it, but it has like, it's a little picture book and it has all 2-word sentences. And so I read that with the students, and it was like, it was literally frog jumps. And I would say, is that a sentence? Everyone in the whole class said no. And then it was like, they're all wrong. It is a sentence because it has a subject and a verb. Is it a great sentence? No, but it is a sentence. So we spent a lot of time just getting those low babies to learn how to just write a complete sentence. Also, another thing that I think would help them is to do a lot of hands-on colored cardstock or pieces of paper cut up. For example, you could try printing and cutting out subjects and predicates, and you could have them put the sentence pieces together and where they make sense, and then type or write a few of them. Always follow it up with some writing aspect, whether they say it into the microphone or they actually type it, whatever works for them. If you need to put them with a buddy, that could also help to put those sentences together. And, in the early days when you're just starting ECRs, I would recommend starting with a very basic planner. There is a races planner that I'm going to show you where they could simply write 4 sentences. The RA is a sentence. They could cite some text evidence. That's a sentence. Explain it. That's a sentence. And then sum it up, another sentence. So 4 sentences. And if we can get them doing that, then we can spend the rest of the year working on getting rid of repetition, going back and maybe adding another sentence. But I think that's a good goal for intervention students to have. And another thing you could try is start with a digital planner for those with severe writing difficulties. I have heard rumors that TEA is looking into a digital planner. They have not finalized that yet, but as of now, we don't know, and we don't know if they'll be able to use that on STAR probably not, but who knows? I still think it would help them with the colors. So check out my digital planners, and that might be something that you start with until they get the hang of it. And then you could have them just do that on the final copy, and they could use a planner like a visual with post-its but not write on it. So I have a few ideas about how to transition into that later. Start by reading hard passages to them, or teach them to use snap and read. Now I know a lot of people out there are going to say, what, you can't read them the passage, that's not allowed on star. Yes, I know that it's not allowed on star, but if you just hand a student that's reading on a kindergarten level and you hand them a fourth grade star passage, and you don't, and you wonder why they just sit there and they're not typing anything. So what is the point of that? If they're never going to learn how to write the essay if you don't scaffold it by reading them the passage and explaining the process. And then once they learn how to do it, of course, by the time they get to star, they're going to have to read the passage themselves, but hopefully they'll have content language supports and they can get the gist of the passage that way. And by then, hopefully they will be able to do it. But I just think they're not going to have a chance at all if you don't read them those passages. Also, keep in mind that I'm talking about reading previously released STAR tests, which the passages are 2 pages. The ones that they're going to be taking in the end of April are going to be way shorter. The passages are going to be much, much shorter. They have to be, since they're adding basically 2 more passages, but keeping it the same length. So it's still going to be 3,000 words or less, but with more passages. So that means they're going to be shorter. So if you're giving them a long passage, my point is read it to them. Try that. Sentence starters are key. They really are going to help your low babies if you give them those sentence starters. Post those on an anchor chart, give them a copy every time they write. And by the time they get to April, they're going to know the sentence starters the more they practice with them. So I would just keep giving them those. Here's an example of a really simple planner that you could use for short constructed response. So you want to start with this. So you're just getting them, okay, let's restate and answer the question. Let's make sure we have our central idea by answering the question. So you start with that. Then they cite their evidence. Okay, once they can do that and they can write 2 sentences, then you add on 2 more boxes. So then you say, okay, you've already been doing this, you've already been doing RAC. Now you're going to add another sentence that explains your evidence, and then you're going to sum it up. So this would be a great planner to use for 3rd grade. This would be a great planner to use for 4th to 8th grade if you have a student that needs it, that's on that lower level, that's SpEd or has writing difficulties, and this is where you want to start, in my opinion. So as they're able to write 4 sentences, then you can say, okay, now go back and find one more piece of evidence. And then can you go back and explain that evidence? So you can build on this. And this is honestly what we started with last year. So when I was experimenting with all this last school year, this is what we used. And then the planner that I use now, it has evolved from this, but this is where we started. Okay, here is an example. If you have a lower level student or a 3rd grade student, you could use this as your model. And you could even cut it out and have them put it together. But you'll see, and when you look for my digital planners, you'll see that they already have the colors embedded in them. So when they go to type the RA, it's gonna be in red font. When they go to type the C, it's going to be in blue font. When they type the E, it's in green. And then back to the S where they answer the question again, that's going to be red again. So By doing the digital planner and using the colors, I think it is going to really help your students. So try that. Even if they can't use it on STAR, the idea is that you're using it just to teach them. After they do this several times and they keep practicing, they're gonna remember the colors in their head, and then it won't matter that they're typing it on STAR in black and white. So, and there might even be ways. I'm pretty sure you can give them post-it notes on the test. I'm pretty sure you can have color up on the wall. You just can't have words. So those are some things that you can be thinking about. Here's another one that, let's say that student, you're showing them this. You might have a student that's a little bit higher, that maybe you could show them this one where they're adding a little bit more to each of those boxes. And you're basically meeting each student where they are, and then you're building on that throughout the year. So each student might have different goals in your classroom. Um, I took a screenshot. This was from my third grade resource called Chips. And in there, I talk about a foursquare and using pictures. For years, this has helped with my SpEd students and any lower level students. If they cannot jot the paragraph, they cannot jot the main idea, they can at least highlight the keywords that tell them the main idea, and they can jot a symbol, or I call it a quick pick. It's just a picture, a very quick picture that they don't take a lot of time on. And that kind of shows them that I know what they're reading about and that they understood that paragraph. So if you're saying that the guy was angry, you might have an angry face. And then after he gave him the thinnest chip ever, he was happy. And then, so you could do little symbols. I did a salt shaker, pepper shaker for seasoning. So those are things that you can do throughout the passage, and you can model that, and then they can practice that. And that just helps them to be taking the passage on a little bit of a deeper level than just reading it. Here's an example of highlighting the text evidence, or highlighting, I think this one was text evidence, but also they could highlight the main ideas. And this one was in Eduphoria, so they're doing that. This is also an example of how they can write the notes, but that's more for the higher students. But anyway, you can teach them how to highlight, and there are several colors to choose from, and even the colors could really help them if they use that for different things. Here's an example of highlighting on paper. They can highlight the main ideas. They can highlight that text evidence. This is a poem, so the student was highlighting the words that rhymed. Hands-on revising. So this is an example, and I have several of these resources, but this is an example of, you have that student that can barely write, but if you give them an essay that's already written and it's a model, you can actually cut it up and color code it, and you could do red for the restate and answer, like I was showing you the colors before. This one was argumentative writing or opinion writing. So this one I just added pink to show the reasons. But otherwise, you'll see that it has blue for the text evidence, green when you're explaining, and then I did orange for the transitions. So they could do this in groups. They could do this at your teacher table. And to make it a little easier, since we're just starting this activity, I put all of the paragraphs in separate baggies. And so we opened one paragraph at a time, and they had to put the pieces together where the paragraph would make sense. I like this activity because it's not intimidating. The students don't have to write, and they thought it was really fun to just move the paper around. And I think they said that it really made sense with the colors. I think they will remember that better as far as when they do their essay. And then after we did this activity, uh, and they wrote their own essay, I gave them pink, blue, and green post-it notes. And that really helped. They wrote the restate and answer at the top of their planner, and then they used the post-it notes, which they could move all around, and they used those to kind of organize their thoughts, and that really helped. So I highly recommend using colored post-it notes and doing color coding. This is the planner that we used, and that can be found in my resources as well. Okay, I wanted to show you this example because we just did this last week. This is a fourth grade student, a real live example from November 2022. And this student is reading on a first grade level. This student is dyslexic. They were dyslexic but not showing progress. So now they are in SpEd and going to resource and getting inclusion support. And the accommodations in the paperwork is spelling assistance, using the microphone, which would be speech to text, because the speech turns into the text, oral admin or text to speech, and content language support. So the student has basically all the accommodations you can imagine. And this was done in Google Docs by speaking into the microphone. Now, is it perfect? No, but is this great for a student reading on a first grade level? Yes. Did I read the passage? Yes. Did I conference several times and did it take the student way longer than the other kids? Yes. But look at this, they did it. So I'm just going to read you this because I'm really proud of this student. RA, I think manners matter because it made people feel much better. The second R is the reason. Manners matter because so people can be healthy. C, the text evidence. It says manners can make kids get higher grade in school. E, manners make people live longer. R, manners show others that you respect and care about them. C, manners aren't just good for you, it's good for others too. Manners are good for everybody. So as you can see, they have the structure, they have the organization. Does it have tons of repetition? Yes. Does it have mistakes? Yes. Is it missing periods? Yes. But this is November. So if they can do this in November, we can keep working all year long on those other things. So this is kind of where you have to start. And that is it. These are my links. Please, if you like this video, please sign up to my email list where I will be sending you tips, tricks, and freebies. Check out my Teacher Pay Teacher store, and I will share all of these links in the video notes. Please follow and like my teacher Facebook page called Teaching RLA with Carlin Laborio, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for lots more videos. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day. Bye.